welcome everyone to our last discussion in the 7-part series organized by the Hungarian Foundation for Museums and Visitors. And let me introduce the discussion partners today. So I'd like to start with Cristina Toma, who is representing NEMO here, the Learning Museum work group in NEMO, and also representing MAPS Museum in Romania. And then let me introduce Magdolna Nagy, who is the director of the Museum Education and Methodology Center in Hungary. And then let me introduce Andrea Kárpáti, who is a researcher and an educator. Yes, she already too.
Well, I sent you yesterday. Let me tell you who I am. I am professor of communication at Corvinus University Budapest and head of the Visual Culture Learning Group. I have about 7 books on museum education and more than 50 papers. And I am much thrilled to join this meeting. And thank you very much for inviting me.
And thank you very much to all of you to join this meeting about the Learning Museum, Learning Museums. So, and I've sent the questions. So we can start with those, and then if the audience has more questions put in the chat, then we can also discuss those as well. So the first question was first maybe to Magdolna and Cristina, because they are representing an organization responsible for facilitating the learning of museums. So as a representative of such an organization, what do you consider your most important mission? Let's start. Can we start with Cristina first?
Yes. I would briefly like to say that MAPS Museums that I coordinate for 7 years or 6 years already is a small institution in Bucharest, but it's maybe one of the most active institution regarding museum education. And maybe one of the reasons why this is happening is because before being a manager, I used to be a curator for education. So for 12 years, I worked with as an educator in the National Museum of Art of Romania, and as a manager, I brought with me the heritage and all my skills that I learned in the art museum, and I brought them here in the MAPS Museum. I would say that our mission as a museum is not, paradoxically, it's not culture, but it's education. I strongly believe that museums are places of learning, and then other things, but firstly of learning. And what we are struggling to do here in the MAPS Museum is focus on lifelong learning, but also on working with schools, because what we feel it's a gap here in Romania in museum education is a gap between museum collections and schools. So there isn't really a connection between school curriculum, programs, and what museums have to offer. So what we are trying to do at MAPS Museums is unite the schools with a collection, the schools meaning the school curriculum and the children's needs, the teachers' needs, with the collection. And on the other hand, we are paying closely attention to lifelong learning, to senior education, and all that stuff.
Thank you. And can you tell us a little bit of the work of the NEMO working group, the Learning Museum working group? What does that trying to achieve? What does that try to achieve?
Well, the Learning Museum working group, it's it's a small group of museum enthusiasts that gathers once a year, and they discuss various topics about museum learning. Each year, a country or a museum invites the LEM to come and visit, and they focus on one topic. For example, last year it was the Jewish Museum in Amsterdam that was the host of the LEM in June, and they discussed very briefly a very interesting guiding technique. It's called I Ask, and it was created, let's say, by the Jewish Museum in Amsterdam, and we tried to understand a bit how it works. And then there are several tours in the museums, but on a specific topic. And last year we tried to visit new museums, because the Netherlands have many new museums open every year. So we tried to visit, for example, a very interesting museum. It was, I can't remember the name, but it was hosted in a former asylum for psychotic persons, and it was a museum about that, about illnesses, about mental illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this very interesting approach of mental illnesses. How do we relate to them? How do we about them? And this year the LEM group will be in Macedonia. I think it will be sometime in June. So one other thing that the LEM group is doing is trying to work on various subjects. For example, the occupational standard for museum educator. We work on it and try to figure out how it's the best to make the occupational standard work for Europe, for the European countries.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's pass to Magdolna.
Okay. So the Museum Education and Methodology Center operates as a directorate of the Hungarian Open Museum. And our main mission is to support the renewal of museums. And when we were founded, our main mission was to support them in the field of museum education as well. But in the meantime, we realized that we can do even more, and we can have even more very interesting topics. So we started to work methodology in the field of community building, because we see that it's very important for museums to build communities around them and to work together with the communities. And the other area is the quality management, because it's also a very, very important topic for us, that we have to give help for museum educators and for the other museum professionals as well, that how to provide the services in a very high quality level and how to measure it. So now we are working not only on museum education, but on different areas as well. And we operate the national network of museum coordinators, which is a very important network in Hungary, because these museum coordinators working in each country of Hungary, the number of these coordinators is around 30 people, and these coordinators can work as a methodology center, and they can supply our methodology to the other museums belonging to them. And we are having a lot of education trainings and a lot of methodology booklets as well. So we think that based on our researches, we always focus on methodology development and training, because we think that these three things, research, methodology development, and training, is coming only together and can be successful if we do it together. So this is our mission, to support museums in this way.
Thank you very much. I think this was an excellent lead to Andrea's mission, Andrea's department's mission. So,
okay. Let me switch on my, oh yes, my microphone is on. All right, so I'm from Corvinus University, Institute of Media, Communication and Marketing Science. And there we have a visual culture research group that recently completed the AMAS, Acting on the Margins, Arts and Social Sculpture project in the framework of the Horizon 2020 basic research effort of the European Union. Here we worked together with 7 countries, and the museums involved from Hungary were Ludwig Museum Budapest and the National Gallery, that is part of the Museum of Fine Arts. The museum educators in both outlets, both museums, developed special programs for socially disadvantaged and learning handicapped, learning challenged children and young people from the age of 10 till the age of 17. And these programs were accompanied by teacher training efforts. In both museums, about 60 teachers who deal with children with social and learning challenges were educated. And of course, teaching resources were also developed for these educators. The essence, and this is the end of my short addition to this program, the essence of these teacher development and school-based programs was to not only make kids love going to museums, but actually develop their cognitive skills, develop their psychomotor skills, and learning to learn skills and motivation to learn. So measurable cognitive skills were also developed through museum education. This is quite important, and at present I'm editing a book for Routledge that will involve, apart from the studies from abroad, from the 7 countries, these papers, these chapters that will describe these efforts. A metaphor to end, the Ludwig Museum is at the threshold of 8th and 9th districts, actually in the 9th, situated in the 9th district. These districts, I'm telling it for our foreign participants, encompass wide social differences. We have housing outlets for young entrepreneurs, and we have 2 substantial Roma ghettos. The beautiful building of the Ludwig Museum seemed to be unapproachable for the kids attending the Roma majority schools, but not anymore. Now they are regular attendees with their classes and with their art educators. This just ruining the walls among social classes and merging knowledge that museums have to offer and are ready to offer for everybody. That was the essence of our recent research effort.
Thank you very much. And maybe you can share where this research result is available, either in the chat or later, because it's, I think, very exciting, and I'd like to look into that.
The Routledge book is being developed right now, so we do the copy editing and will come out in June or July this year. But the project has a Hungarian and English website that I'm going to share right now in the chat.
Thank you very much. Great. Okay, and then we can move on to the next question. What kind of tools, methodologies do museums have for learning? And what does your organization use from these? Let's start with Cristina again.
Well, for learning, it's we talk a lot about learning in our museum, and we try to separate the informal learning from the non-formal learning, because there are, and for both of them, we kind of use similar methods, except the fact that when it comes to non-formal learning, we try to use also formal methodology. So the one that it's basically used in schools, but not in a scholar manner. So we are not working with the children that come in the museum as if they were in school. We use the dialogue, the conversation, the observation, and all these methodology for discovering the museum, but not formally. For informal, we try to use as much technology as we can, because even if we might at first say that we don't need it, we actually need it, because it's technology is children's language today, so we have to learn how to use it. And I would like, for example, to say just a few words about one of our projects. Now it's a European project, Horizon 2020 project that it's implemented by Ars Electronica in Linz, Austria. The project is named Doors, and the project, the pilot that it's in the Maps Museum, it's called Hands-on Maps. And what we are basically trying to do with this project is try to create an app, a phone app or a tablet app that will be used both for Android and iOS. And we target it for children of 10 to 14 years, and also to teachers. And we took out of the school curriculum, we took out the history and geography that they study at these ages, and we try to create connections with the museum collection, and try to make an app that's also a game, but also a mean for learning, and a mean of evaluation for the teachers, because we want the teachers to come in the museum and use it for teaching, for evaluating, and also we want children to come in the museum on their own and have fun while learning. And also another goal of this app is to use it in schools. So there will be certain parts of the app that will be used in schools. Teachers will use the app while teaching, and then the next time they would have to come in the museum. We strongly believe that games go hand in hand with learning and education, so we are doing our best to show this in what we do in the museum.
Thank you very much. Let's ask Magdolna as well about tools.
Yeah, let me tell you that we had research last year and 2 years ago. Its title was Museums Today 2020, and this research was led by the Ministry of Culture, but we as Museum Education Center participated in this research. And we asked museum managers and the employees as well that what kind of learning facilities do they have, and what kind of learning facilities do they need but not have yet. And it was very interesting, the result. It can be read in English as well, that most of the museum professionals told that they need improvement in the digital area, and it was this research was before the COVID. We started the questionnaires before the COVID, and that's why the digital area was one of the most important area which must be developed. But we did another research after the COVID as well. That's why I told that it was last year as well. And we put the same questions, and now they told that, okay, the digital development is quite okay, but there are also some area which must be developed and which could be necessary in order to provide the services on a higher level. And one of this area was that the middle managers need really management skills, because in Hungary it's quite usual that if there is a key worker who is very important for the institution, for the museum, and they don't want him to leave the museum, they promote it to a manager position, but it doesn't mean that they have management skills. So they really need trainings for developing these management skills, but it was not available for museum professionals, this kind of trainings. That's why we MOKK developed one and now introduced it last year. But the other problem is, especially in the small, there is only some people who are working, and if a colleague goes for a study tour or participates in a training, it means that the other employee has to do his work, and if there are only 2 or 3 employees in one museum, it's very difficult. So that's why we are trying to develop trainings online or e-learning, which gives more freedom for the employees to take this opportunity. In this research, we have seen that there are some very good examples as well. There are some museums, mainly the big museums, which promote the employees. If they go to a conference or a study tour, they cover the cost of this conference or this study tour. But these employees have to write a report about it or have to give presentation to the other colleagues. And I think it's very important, because this kind of knowledge share is essential, and not only for the employees of the museum, but for other museums as well. So in some cases, the manager of the museum told us that it is very important that if there is a national conference, this employee who participated on a study tour abroad has to go there and has to have a presentation about the key learnings. And I think this knowledge share is also a very good opportunity to develop other museum stuff as well.
Yes, thank you very much. And maybe can I also ask you, because you mentioned some researches or projects, can you also share the links of those? And then I'd like to ask Andrea about the tools and methodologies that she found in her research that museums use, maybe more than...
Okay, let me... All right, so I'm going to share with you the publications again about the tool that I'm going to mention now. It's augmented reality exhibition guides. I have a doctoral student, actually doctoral candidate facing defense, Adam Kuttner, who is a science communicator and information technology expert. And in his school, he has been developing museum and other institution-based software developers who are engaged with augmented and virtual reality. Adam developed a range of applications for Hungarian museum exhibitions and did a substantial study of 15 HRVR exhibition guides worldwide. This is a very interesting study with lots of resources linked, and it has just appeared in the International Journal for Science Communication. I'm going to share the link with you, the essence. Let me choose one of the exhibitions and show you how HRVR works. Tamás Vásárhelyi, a senior museum educator that we all know in Hungary, has invited Adam to develop a guide for his exhibition with Tamás Konok, the recently deceased internationally renowned painter, about their joint show exhibiting toys and developed by Tamás Vásárhelyi and paintings by Tamás Konok that were the basis of the educational toys that Tamás not only developed but also produced. The exhibition was held last June and July in Móra, Ferenc Móra Museum in Szeged under the title Space, Movement and Play. The virtual exhibition guidance that Tamás offered on this exhibition was an HRVR tool that could be downloaded on mobile phones, and an app was developed also by Adam Kuttner for Google Play and App Store, so both phone users could benefit. And when they were walking through the exhibition, they could scan QR codes at the different pairs of work of art, painting and toy, and they could hear Tamás Vásárhelyi explaining the science behind the painting that the toy tried to represent. All these were still approved by Tamás Konok, so the guidance can be considered authentic. There was an experiment that Adam Kuttner organized to see if it is of any use for visitors of the exhibition or just an embarrassment that you have to push buttons and use your phone. And in exhibitions that concern such an exciting way of knowledge sharing is very authentic. as many contemporary art forms also involve the digital. So the visitors, young people in their 20s, a control group that did not use the gadget, and the experimental group who benefited from it, both went through the exhibition, and the difference was retention and motivation to see modern art. That was the big difference. The control group politely said that yes, perhaps they will return to the museum at another time. The experimental group told exactly what they discovered in contemporary art that was relevant for them, and how they discovered science talking to art and art talking back. So they had an active engagement with the artworks, and definitely said, and they even named the museums where they were going to return. So HRVR is good not only to get you a monster figure appearing in the museum space, as it is very often used, just to have still another image, but it can also conjure a knowledgeable guide, a scientist, a museum educator, whoever, who will take you by the hand and guide you through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, and we welcome the links in the chat again. Thank you. And then Magdolna already mentioned some of the topics that they organize trainings about. And then maybe we should move on to the question, so that discussing what are the most important topics nowadays that the museums learn about when they are looking outward, when they are trying to follow trends. Let's start with Cristina on this question.
Yes, so when we look outwards, I really think that museums should learn about community needs, to learn how to solve pressing community problems. We really need to be a part of the life of our visitors. We need to learn how to care and how to solve and try to solve the problems, and also I think that museums should embrace diversity and elaborate targeted cultural offers. In this way they will be more competitive and efficient. And also one of the things that it's interesting and should be assumed by museum is a technological transfer, and I'm not talking only about the technology that we use in museums, but also working with other stakeholders and applying for dedicated grants. Technology, it becomes quickly obsolete, so we need to approach technology in a sustainable manner. And when it comes to sustainability, this is also a topic that we have to pay attention to. We have to talk about sustainability, about durability, about climate action. But this for the day, my takeaway would be looking for the community needs and solving the community problems. I think this is one of the most important things that we should be take into consideration. Also, I think that from the outside, we need to learn that museums want that visitors want museums to be active and interactive, and also that museums have to be accessible. So these would be my thoughts on outward learning.
Thank you very much. And Magdolna, what is your opinion?
I completely agree with Cristina, because as I told, this community development from the museum side, we think it's very important. and we developed supporting the museum's community building, and not only a methodology, but we thought that it is very important that if a museum have some success in this field, it should be awarded. So we developed the Community Museum Award, and we give it to museums who are really successful in this field. And I think it's very important because these museums can be a good practice for other museums as well. Up to now, I think around 40 museums gained this Community Museums Award. So this number shows that, yes, there is a need for it. And museums think that it's a good way to have the sustainability. And I think the other part of the sustainability is the Green Museum topic. So now we started to work together with Tamás Vásárhelyi and some other people to elaborate the criteria of the Green Museum, because I think that this climate changes forces museums as well to think in another level of sustainability, and this environmental aspect is getting more and more important.
Thank you very much. And maybe you can also tell what they are not learning about, but they should, because I think Cristina already told the answer to that question as well. So do you have some topics in mind?
I would like to tell you not topics but skills which I think must be developed for museums and for museum professionals. And one of the skill is the speaking English, because in our opinion that it is really a very important thing that museums should make connections with museums from other countries as well, and to see the good practices not only within the country but outside the country as well. But this language barrier is really big. Let me tell you one. We usually organize international conferences in Hungary, or last year we organized an international summer university in Hungary. And when we advertised it and realized that we have only 1 or 2 people who wanted to come, and it was free of charge for the people, so it was not the money, the barrier. And we asked our network of museum coordinators that, please tell me, why don't you come? It's free of charge, you can make connections. And all they answered that, yeah, but it is in English. So when we succeeded to have some money for interpretation, and it was in Hungarian as well, they could come. But you know that there are a lot of excellent tenders, these Erasmus partnership tenders, which can really open all the barriers, or borders. But if there is a language barrier, they can't apply for these funds as well. So I think the development of this language skill for the Hungarian museum professional should be really very essential.
Yes, thank you very much. And I saw Cristina raised her hand.
Yes, I just wanted to add, I think that Magdolna's intervention was really interesting and very accurate, because it's really, we actually, for example, we have an Erasmus Plus project, and we wanted to go to Madrid, and what happened was that we couldn't go to the Prado Museum because there was only one English-speaking person in the education department of the Prado Museum. So we had only 1 or 2 persons could go to Madrid. So language barrier, it's important. But that's not what I wanted to add about learning from, about what we should learn from the outside. I think that museums should learn about accessing grants and about forging a strategic partnership, and also entrepreneurial initiatives. I believe that sometimes we live in a bubble, and then we think that we don't need the money, and we have money, we are very happy with the little amounts that we have. And I don't know, this is my perception, at least in Romania, and I think we should look outside and try to be more entrepreneurial than we are, because it's not, we are not raising money for ourselves, or we are not getting funds for ourselves, but for learning and for museum collections. So this is one of the things that we should learn, I would say.
Thank you very much. It was very important. And let's hear Andrea's opinion. What are the topics that museums learn about, and what are the ones that they should learn about?
Well, I want to mention, it is here that I have to say that MOKK, the Center for Museum Education led by Magdolna, has a fantastic offering for museum people for learning. And I also personally benefited a lot from going there. And currently I downloaded this Museum Today publication, and I'm so happy that Magdolna shared the English version that I somehow didn't find. And now I can share it with my colleagues, because educators and museum educators should join. There are research grants out there for having, but we can only apply for them if we are in a consortium, because that's how we feel after having won that grant in 2020, because these grants need basic research, need skills studies, and perhaps museums will not hire a psychologist or educator just for doing it. So it's much better to join. And two topics that I think museum people have to learn. One is project management, management in general. And at Corvinus University, the other doctoral student, Zsófia Somogyi Rohonci, an experienced museum educator, now working for the Museum of Architecture and the Documentation Center. She teams up with Corvinus-based managers, communicators, media specialists, and she's at present developing a course that will be called Museum Communication, but actually will involve a lot of management studies. We have looked at what the other people are offering, and of course, ours will be modest because we are not a museum, but we invite those who want to do two things: learn about management in a good business school from good business people. And second, there is a second thing that I think museum people have to learn: cutting edge social media technology. So museum websites are good and lucrative and nice, and they are there on Facebook. but who is on Facebook? My generation and those who are a bit younger. So we crawl to Facebook and open it, and we are happy what we find there. Okay, of course, it's fine, but we have been giving courses on social media for museums and other cultural institutions at Corvinus, so that our students would have some feeling, and with the help of Magdolna, and we could get in touch with museums. And the Corvinus media folks were quite surprised to find that fantastic riches, experiences, exciting programs that the museums have and that people don't know about. So this is the second. Do little courses, modest, or join other agencies and museums and do courses on TikTok and Instagram. These are the two major platforms right now. And I'm the follower of many museums worldwide, who are the Metropolitan, I think, is the very best. They have wild things on Instagram that they wouldn't put on their distinguished homepage. So, and they even have TikTok videos that make sense, that are clever. Don't say anything that's not true, but still they are funny. They are just cute, even sometimes. So yes, these are the two platforms museum educators have to learn. And here again, a lot of professions have to join hands, not just learn about development, but also about the technology of what is doable. So management and TikTok, Instagram, that's my suggestion.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to our next topic, and I'd like to ask the audience if they have any questions or any remarks they would like to add. Cannot see any. Yes, Agnes? Becoming visible?
Yes, hello. I have a question to Cristina. You mentioned that it's important to understand the needs of your community, of your visitors. Do you have any researches at your museums in this topic?
Yes, we have several. Not some of them are quite empiric, but still we have them, and we rely to a certain extent on it. So what we do every 5 years, and this year it's one of these years, is that we work with a marketing research company who works on potential visitors. And they talk in focus groups about museum trends and their needs as potential visitors. And then after that, we have a questionnaire. We ask our visitors the questionnaire, and it's a rather complete and very heavy and consistent questionnaire. But besides that, what we do usually is we have a tablet in the museum, and the museums, when they leave, they may leave their few words. It's demographics, so information about them, but we also have a question about how they felt in the museum, and we try to take their opinion into consideration. And last but not least, the friendliest of these research methods, let's say, is one that I learned from Nina Simon. I guess everybody is familiar with Nina Simon's books. So she visited Romania Andrea in my first year of management, and since she was talking about her museum and her first years as a manager, I asked her what was the very first thing that she did when she became the manager of the museum, and I got her consent to do the same. So the first thing that she did was she took a cork table and put it in the museum and used sticky notes for it, and asked all the visitors to say what they feel and what they need. And of course, you may find stickers like I love you or John loves Mary, but also we find very valuable information regarding the exhibition, things that they like, that they don't like, that they would like to see, books that they would like to see exhibited or brought from the shop, activities, ideas of activities, when it would be even time suggestions, when it would be best to do some kind of event, whom they would like to hear or listen to when they come to the museum. And so it's a very informal way of gathering information about the visitors' needs, and that's why every day we get about 50 notes like that. So it's important because we can get a good idea about what the visitors want from the museum. As I said, it's empiric, it's not very scientifically built, but still we use it and we really like it and we have fun when we read it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And that again touched on a topic that I didn't ask in the questions, learning from our visitors. That's a very important thing. But maybe let's move on to the next group of questions that I asked. And actually, I think this question is also the part of that bigger group. It's about this inward-looking learning, as I called it, when a museum is learning about itself, about its way of operating and these things. So the question is that how typical is it in the museums, you know, that they reflect on their own ways of working and learn systematically about themselves? Can we start with Magdolna now?
In my opinion and in my experience, it's getting more and more typical. So if we think about the conferences or the where museums after the conference or after the exhibition opened, send a questionnaire to the visitors or to the participants and ask for their opinion, and then they evaluated it and draw the key learnings and try to make modifications on the process, or if they organize next time the same conference, they would like to avoid the problems. So I think this is a very good example for self-evaluation and self-reflection. But as a methodological center, MOKK started to promote this procedure. I have already mentioned the quality management development, and a part of this quality management development was the criteria, was the development of the criteria of the family-friendly museums. And it's very important because this criteria gives a lot of ideas for museums that which are the most important factors for families, so they can fill a self-evaluation questionnaire, and through this questionnaire they can see that if the answer is yes, okay, we have already done it, and if the answer for the question is no, okay, these are the weak points, these are important elements for the families, so I have to develop it. And I think this is a very good method to have a mirror for the management as well, to see that what are the strengths of the museums in this field and what are the weak points. And we introduced an award as well, like I told for the Community Museums Award. We did the same in case of the families, so we introduced the Family-Friendly Museum Award, because we also think that it's very important that if a museum has the intention to fill this self-evaluation questionnaire, and it realizes that yes, we met all the requirements, and we can say that yes, it is a very good message for not only for the other museums to make a good example for them, but it's a very good example and a very good message for the visitors as well. So it has a very strong communication message that yes, we welcome families and we know what families need. And another very important thing, I think I have to mention, that we as a methodology center always try to do things which are proven by the museum and by the Hungarian Opera Museum. We are the directorate of the Hungarian Opera Museum. And in that case, this family-friendly museum case, first the Hungarian Opera Museum set all these requirements and could prove that yes, it is not a dream to keep this level, but we have already done it, and we can show a good example as a company. So please follow us, because it is not unrealistic to reach this level. So this personal example is very important, I think, in case of a methodology center, that we can rely on a background, this Hungarian Opera Museum, which have already had these good practices.
Thank you very much. Can we pass the word to Cristina?
I must say that I'm overwhelmed, and I'm to be here with you today, because you have so many beautiful projects and so many beautiful stories to tell. So I'm delighted. Thank you very much for having me here. I would really like to stay in touch with you in future, and maybe with Erasmus Pluses we can do establish a connection with Magdolna, with Andrea, with you, because it's really beautiful what you are doing there. And I think there are many things that my colleagues and I could learn from you. So going on, I really think, of course, inward learning is essential and very important. And I think it's one of the keys to being competitive and efficient, as I already mentioned. And I think that inward learning definitely exists. It is highly beneficial, but I don't think it has a very structured form. It doesn't have a formal form. So basically, we learn from each other, we share with each other, but we don't have a structured way of doing it. So at least in the museums that I know, I don't know examples of this kind. And I would also like to say about museum educators that they are forced by their work to always learn. I think that the museum educators are always need to always be updated with everything, because the public changes, their needs change, the context changes, the political context changes, the everything changes around them. So I think museum educators are in this constant process of learning, and in museums they learn from sharing mainly, or they at least should learn from sharing, and always be updated with the newest things.
Thank you very much. And Andrea, what's your opinion on this question? What have you found? Your mic is not on yet.
Sorry, can you formulate it again, just so that a non-museum person could hear it? I have the questions in front of me that you sent, and
yes, this is the question. How typical is it in the museums, that they reflect on their own ways of working and learn systematically or not systematically
about themselves? Yes, okay. Well, visitor studies are getting to be more and more frequent. Self-reflective studies are very scarce. And I can only always speak about my tiny little experience, always emphasizing that I'm not working for a museum. However, I am a trained art historian and catalogued 200 Chinese porcelain pieces, 200 really, and they are still in the catalogue for Ferenc Hope Museum. So there was a time in my past when I hoped to become an Oriental art museologist. Then we broke up with China. So much about my background. Broke up with China, no jobs. Turning to education, I think that doctoral studies in the area, or any other research, it shouldn't be doctoral. I'm mentioning the PhD process because a distinguished museum communicator has just approached me from the Kossuth Museum, and she received a Red Dot Award with her colleagues, of course, for the redesigning the whole communication effort of the Kossuth Museum, so making it visitor friendly. And they received visiting numbers 10 and 20 times as much as before, which is, of course, a huge number. Katalin Szőke is her name, and now she's teaching at Metropolitan University, and she wants to do a study on visitor friendliness and developing an exhibition, studying how the museum educators, the museologists, the technicians, the exhibition designers, everybody work together, and how the audience responds to their work. So this is a lengthy process, and that's why I'm mentioning the PhD. And Katalin Szőke is going to study a huge museum, the Museum of Folk Art, or ethnography, sorry for calling it FOCAT, the Museum of Ethnography, huge building, vast collection. You can get lost. You don't find museum educators there too frequently. There are no publications as yet. I'm sure there are some in preparation. So big fancy museum, little museum education. And the other one is the city of Veszprém developing a municipal collection, just a small municipal collection. A lot of educational effort, all politicians involved, citizens involved, everybody is together to define what this town means for its people. So Katalin will study that. And these are the moderated self-reflective studies. And there is a researcher who is moderating, talking to everybody that will provide the insights of what went well, what did not go well, and what the audience did respond to very well, and what was a failure. So not just visitor studies, but self-studies. Museum educators' self-studies are needed. But to do this, you need either money that Katalin doesn't have, or a motivation that the PhD students have a lot. So I'm encouraging those colleagues of ours who are here to send in our direction, not to me personally, just in the direction of experts with a PhD, and invite them to work together. Yeah, and do studies.
Thank you very much. Again, I am asking the audience if they have any questions or remarks. Yes, Agnes?
Again, me.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic. Let me introduce myself. I'm Agnes Mácsai. I'm working national cultural project as an evaluator and international. So it's this topic is really important for me, and I would like to react for your words. I see that in Hungary here is a really big lack of knowledge about the works of evaluation and the visitor research. And I think it's I see that there is more and more service, for example, but if I see from professional view, they are not so good. So I think that the managers or the museum workers need to learn more about the tools and how to take a research project. And I understand totally that it's not an easy thing to think as a researcher, but I see it's here in Hungary, it's a lack, and we are a lot of institutions are beginners on this field, and but I totally agree with your things, and it's really important part. And which Andrea mentioned, the self-evaluation is totally at the first steps, I think, in Hungary.
Thank you very much. Here came up a topic, maybe, or a training idea for maybe Magdolna to teach museum managers or museum professionals about how to work with researchers. I think that's also an important skill, because you have to know what is important for the researcher and how to instruct the researcher in a way that the research or the survey or the study is the most effective. So yes, another topic came up. Anyone else who would like to add something or ask a question? No, if not, then we are moving on to our next question, which is about the individual learning versus the learning of the organization. And Magdolna already touched on the sharing of the knowledge, but I'm asking what aspects do you find important here, and what relations do you think there are between the individual learning versus the community learning or learning as an organization? So let's start with Christine.
Well, I believe that they are very strongly connected. The individual learning and community learning, they are connected. The individual learning determines or enhances the organizational learning, and together they have this knowledge development effect that spills over into the community. So I really think that they go hand in hand. It's first the things that we do, and then sharing with the community and learning from the community. It's a very short answer.
Thank you very much. Can you move on to Magdolna? Yes.
I completely agree with Cristina. So I think that if the employees have the motivation, the opportunity, and the financial to develop the knowledge and the skills, it also promotes the development of the museum as an institution as well. And on the other hand, the museum as an organization clearly benefits from the learning of its employees. So they can be successful only together. If the museum gives an inspiring background, and if there is a museum which considers that it is important to take a lead role on the field they are operating, it will inspire the employees as well to learn and to develop themselves.
Thank you very much. Andrea, what would you like to add to this? Yes.
Yes, I think that you, Anniko, for in-service training of museum professionals. I was so pleased to get your letter and open the different presentations that were done or discussions in this dialogue, Let's Learn from Each Other course. And I think we need informal opportunities because everybody is super busy. And we need multi-professional opportunities. For example, we have an arts education conference coming up on the 14th to 16th of June. Now, at the Vigado, we are going to have it this year. This is the only platform where we meet dancers, musicians, theater people, and visual artists, all educating children, and all unhappy because they have few lessons, they don't have enough money to support their programs. And it's nevertheless great to hear that they are developing. They are having beautiful programs and they are showing it to each other. So they are excellent encounters. What I have in mind, perhaps in the framework of the museum andragogy, andragogy, I pronounce it in my Bácskiskun in English, but you understand, there is in the Puszki Society, our museum education network, and special group for adult education, so to say, for educating adults in the museum, but this same platform can be used for educating ourselves. If there was anything, a seminar, whatever, not just a short one, but something that is in a country town so that we cannot get away, and involving researchers who are interested in museums, technicians, exhibition designers. I'm so wanting to meet an exhibition designer, visitor studies experts, whoever, just come together for 2 days, let's say, to have a dinner together and then talk. And not big presentations, but round tables, featuring mutual concerns. Yeah, and proposing research projects, networking, getting people involved. That would be very useful. And in terms of NEMO or ICOM, my research group is definitely planning to attend and go to the museum educators meeting if we get to know them. But not me personally, because I prefer to send young, ambitious professionals at the beginning of or middle of their careers. And if you, Cristina, send me information, I will put my email address in the chat. Then I would, and anyone else sending me any other opportunity, then I will grasp it and spread the info. And here I say that Katalin Szőke's address and the 2 museums she's going to study are now in the chat, as well as 3 papers by Adam Kuttner, 2 in English and 1 in Hungarian, about HRVR applications. And here I say, tell everybody that I'm not for digitalizing museums totally, absolutely not. I am for furnishing every generation with the info that they like, that they feel like catching, reading, browsing, and big boards on the wall with small letters and lot of references to unknown, unpronounceable German art historians. They are not what the 20-year-olds desire. So now I share my email address, and thanks for getting back to me.
Thank you very much. And I would also like to add that the foundation, our foundation, Museums and Visitors Foundation, is also for working for this mission, and also trying to help museum professionals to come together, to network, to participate in projects. And we have quite a lot of the results on our website as well. So it's good to look at all the 3 publications that we published in Erasmus project, or then they were called Grundtvig project, but adult education project. Thank you very much, Andrea. Anything else from the audience? If not now, then let's move on to the next question. Yes, we have half an hour. What are the ways, methods to share individual learning results inside and outside the museum? Can we start with Magdolna, because she already touched on this topic?
There are a lot of ways, I think so. So the most important that we have to do it. I think because I could see several somebody participates in a training, and after we had some conversation, and he tells that, oh no, I don't share it with anybody because it's my knowledge. So we on our trainings always would like to emphasize that it is very important to share this knowledge, and we always ask the participants on the trainings that please, when you go home, share this knowledge, because it is very important that as many people as it can be reachable have information about the new trends, about the new methods, and about the new tools which are presented in our trainings. And there are some museums with very good examples. Again, I would like to refer to this research, this museums today, 2020, because we asked the museum managers that how could you organize that if a worker participates in a training or in a conference or a study trip, they should share it. And we got very good examples. For example, there are some museums who have participated in study trips has to have a presentation for the colleagues after the study trip. Let me mention that in our Hungarian Open Air Museum, it's again a good practice that once a year all the colleagues who visited an international conference or participated on an international study tour come together, and it's a half-day event that they present their key learnings from this. So this is one method. The other method which was mentioned, that there are some museums who have intranet and internet network which can be used only within the museum, and these colleagues have to write a report on this internet network. So this way all the colleagues read this report, but we have some department meetings as well, where we can share the knowledge, or some museums told that they used to have the Word Cafe method in order to evaluate the key learnings of a study tour or a training. So there are really different type of methods. The problem is if they don't choose any method to share the experiences.
Yes, thank you very much. Cristina, what is your experience? Your mic is not on.
Sorry.
Yes.
We have what we call the 10 o'clock Monday meeting. So it's basically an informal meeting that we have each Monday, no matter what. And we discuss what happened, the takeaways from the week that passed, the schedule for the following week, and also, very important, a sharing session. For example, I already mentioned that we have the Erasmus Plus projects and the doors, the Horizon 2020 project. And at these meetings, we take the time to discuss about what the colleagues learned from the Erasmus Plus trips or conferences that they attended. Also, if for example, one of my colleagues goes to an important conference, like an annual museum conference, the same thing would happen. We really pay attention to sharing, since we don't have the time and maybe the money to attend all these conferences. If one of us reaches one conference, then we try to absorb the knowledge in these meetings. What we also tried to make, and it was working before the pandemic, so we stopped during the how you call it, the closing time. I can't find the word, the lockdown, during the lockdown. But before that, we had a monthly meeting with museum educators from the museums in Bucharest. So it was my museum's initiative, and it was a very informal meeting. I believe it was on Tuesdays. For 2 hours, we were meeting at the museum, having our coffees or teas or whatever together, and we were discussing projects, exchanging ideas, requesting ideas. So it was, at the beginning, it was a bit difficult because it's not, we tend to only speak the best about ourselves and our projects, and it was a bit difficult to speak about what it's not going well. But in the end, it was a good opportunity to discuss and ask questions and ask for help and ask for conciliation. But these meetings, unfortunately, as I said, stopped with the lockdown. And also, well, for the outside world, let's say, it's the museum magazine that we have here in Romania, and it's published, I believe it's 2 times a year, and it has various topics. And also the museum conferences. There are maybe 3 or 4 important museum conferences in Romania that we try to attend, because we really think that sharing is caring. So it's like a motto for us to share what we know and to say that it's possible. We don't have means, we don't have resources, but it's possible. It's the idea. It's to want to do a change, and then everything is possible. And that's it. This is what we try to tell the others.
Thank you very much. Andrea, what would you like to add?
Yes, the thing is how to make this immense material that is available somewhere, somehow. So to do this, we need an online registration-based library kind of thing, because individual pages come and go. So my major worry at present is how to secure my digital legacy, so to say, and where to put it so that somebody somewhere, somehow, would be able to find it. There is the Hungarian repository of research work, which is very good. I think we need something like that, but only for museums, museum education, whatever. You can call it whatever you like, communication, a repository that may very, very well look like the MTMT that you, Aniko, know very well. Yes, the repository of Hungarian scholarly work, where you could upload your things and they would be catalogued. Somebody would, with a grant, of course, would attach keywords and organize it in a way as to be retrievable when you go and find it. One place is needed, one contact point, because if you say that they are here or there, they are not curated. So such a collection of museum education and communication, museum studies in education and communication, they could be edited. So interesting, valuable, authentic, not fake, research could be collected. And perhaps in Hungary, it won't be a problem because we have Pulski. And everybody, if there is a call from your institution, Aniko, your foundation, or from anywhere else, from MOKK, then people who like to be cited, because it's nice to be referenced in scholarly journals, would readily send in their PDFs, and then there is only, in quotation marks, the only job will be to organize them, to make them available, downloadable. But we also need the foreign ones. And for that, I suggest to put in an appeal, a grant proposal to NKA, the National Hungarian Arts Council, NKO, for example, and I would be happily involved as a participating researcher, because then there should be contact people like Cristina, and we know some people, and you know much more than I do, of course. I just know a few of them, museum educators with good publishing records, and invite them to share. And as Cristina said, sharing is caring. That's very true. So I think all material will be sent and permitted to come into the repository. And of course the repository could have a YouTube channel with little films, because there is a lot of film documentation, also very valuable. There is no other way, you see. I have been with computing, with digital reality from the very start. Actually, in 1990, I wrote the first paper in education in Hungarian, on computing in education. Shame on me, because what happened then is not a nice story. Lots of useless machines, lots of bad software flooded on the Hungarian schools. But anyway, we had hopes. And what I still not only hope, but I'm sure about, is that these repositories work. They actually work. Scopus, World of Science, of course, they work. You get quoted, but they are too big. They are not special. It's a dread to find something targeted to your interest. So more repositories are needed, and it's not bad. They don't consume energy or don't pollute our environment. So they're just one or two machines or cloud storage, because the big repositories, my doctoral students find them threatening. They get lost, and they don't know which German, Spanish, French paper to read. And in the Hungarian repository, there would be an abstract, a translated abstract, so that they could browse through the abstracts and see. Professional literature is not only English. So we are using stuff, I'm an art educationalist, I'm using stuff from everywhere. Okay, so this is my idea. And I find it a very worthy cause.
Yes, thank you very much. And let's hope it won't remain a dream only, but it will come true. And then we still have 20 minutes for the last question. What are the methods for incorporating new knowledge into the operation of the museum? Probably this is the hardest question all the time. So let's start with Cristina.
Tough question indeed. Actually, I would really be curious to see what our colleagues have to say, because the only way I could think of the new things, the new knowledge is by partnerships and exchange with other institutions and museums and, well, all kinds of institutions. So it's the only way I can think of that it might work. So I would really like to know what the others have to say, and of course the other persons that are with us today.
Thank you very much. Magdolna?
I would like to tell you our practice at MOKK, how we build the new knowledge into our courses and into the method, how we're developing new methodology. I think it's very important that our colleagues to all the relevant conferences should participate on study tours, not only in Hungary but in abroad as well, and watch the trends and have a picture about the actual market researches in this field and so on. And when we develop a new training or when we see the possibility to renew a training module, then we collect all these colleagues and ask them to share the experiences in the topic of this training. And they tell the experiences and they tell that which are the new trends and which are the key learnings they learned in these occasions, different occasions, and what is the small part which should be included in our trainings, or what are the negative parts which should be avoided in our trainings. So this is the way how we develop a new training, and this is true for the methods that we advise to our trainers as well, because when colleagues see that he participated in a training which was held in Germany or in another country, and he saw a new method of training, and he sees that it would be worth to try it in Hungary as well. We try to find the way to use these new methods as well and to teach our trainers how to do it. So we always working on the development of our trainings by having the latest trends in it and by having the latest teaching methods on it. And this is because our colleagues have participated in a lot of events and a lot of trainings which can give good experiences or bad experiences for that.
Thank you very much. Andrea, what have you experienced or what did you find during your research? How can museums incorporate the results of their learning into their work? Your microphone should be turned on. I'm sorry.
Okay, looking at this last question, I thought, how would I know? How would I know? So this relates back to one of your previous questions. How can we get to know more about work, public work, working with the audience, our clients at a museum? So self-reflection and outside evaluation. So of course, I have no idea how museums incorporate. I know one thing, when they incorporate, when they have to. So there can be two motivations for doing something differently. One is funds, grants. Museum homepages were the worst, the absolute bottom When I started teaching communication at Corvinus 5 years ago, some of the museums still had their own their old imagery, and that was horrendous. So, but most museums already flourished and had ritzy, expensive homepages financed by a grant dedicated to your online presence. So grants are okay. And I think when there are dedicated grants and when you can influence the grant givers for example, teacher training courses everywhere in the country, not just in wonderful MOKK, but also in other places, perhaps with MOKK lecturers, just pay them, going where the teachers are, because the teachers don't have the money, no money for traveling. So yeah, you have to go to them. Dedicated grants are needed. The second motivation, when you feel like changing your practice, when you feel that you are old-fashioned, when it's bad for your image, your self-image, that you're not doing something. For example, when László Bán, director of the Museum of Fine Arts, and National Gallery, started doing radio propaganda and funny canvases for Monet and Friends, the first really publicized and marvelously communicated exhibition. There is a there is a master thesis by Katalin Szőke, which is available online, about Mr. Bán and his communication activities. Extremely interesting piece. When he did it, after a short while, everybody wanted to do it. So everybody invited a psychologist or a hip hop dancer or a musician or somebody, a politician even, to do a guided tour, because Bán was doing guided tour by Böjte Csaba, the priest. I was there really, and it was fascinating. So he invited a Catholic priest to give a Christmas time presentation of Mary and the Holy Child images in the Museum of Fine Arts. He was doing, of course, his people. So I'm not thinking that it was just one hero. It was a good group. So when we can make things fashionable, make things presented in a way that everybody's doing it abroad, for example, big museums are doing. Yes, so I decided whenever I will go to a museum education conference, I will speak about foreign experiences, because that's when they come up to me and ask, well, Andrea, how was it? Did you really see it happening? And how did it go? When I speak about my own research, they say, congratulations, very nice. You have lots of figures and graphs and whatever. Fine, well done. Nobody is interested. So, but when I say, folks, I was in London and I visited 2 science museums, and look what I found there. There was a scientist dressed as a scientist in the 18th century, sitting on the floor with his gadgets, and there were lots of people. Explainer, of course, a long time ago. Explainer. There was a line after my presentation of museum people wanting to know how this explainer worked and what these backpacks are. And of course, a lot of museums actually did it, maybe not inspired by that little talk, but somehow it got into the talking. So we can do 2 things: make things fashionable and dedicate grants to good causes. Influence policymakers. I don't know how to do it. I wish I could. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing your email addresses, my fellow presenters.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm copying it right now for Cristina, and just my friendly waves for Magdolna, who has done a lot of good for disseminating museum-based knowledge, as did you, Aniko.
Thank you very much. And I'm asking the audience again if they want to share something, add something to this.
Hello, can I add some thoughts on these topics?
Yes, please.
Hello. I'm Zsuzsanna Vatari, working in the Hungarian Open Air Museum as Head of Science and Interpretation. And I think this webinar is a very good example for inward learning, because these occasions are necessary for that. And I think workshops in small groups and the exchange of ideas and interdisciplinarity are key factors in being more open-minded and as open-minded as possible. And I think that museum management has a very important role in that, because the management has to empower the museum staff to do these things. And one of the things Magdi has already mentioned about the language barrier is making them learn, sending them to courses, trainings, making it available for them, letting them go, and having a very, very active inward communication with all the staff working in the museum, because everyone has a different view on the same topic, and this can be very innovative in other areas. So I think empowerment is very important in this fact, and the attitude of the museum management. I would also like to add an example to Magdi's previous answer about the exchange of ideas, because we also have a so-called inner training, which means that at the beginning of the year, we make a structure of trainings with the museum staff and outside scholars, professionals in different areas, and we invite them to give lectures and make workshops. And I think that and Erasmus grants and other applications help a lot in these, because these grants make us open towards other fields and to other institutions, which is very helpful. And about realization of new innovative ideas, programs, I think it's very good if the grant we apply for is not just about theory or a study tour, but we give a specific aim, a specific task going with it, or testing a program or trying something new which could be incorporated into the grant. And this is the same what Andrea has already said, that it has to be incorporated into something because it just motivates people even more to realize it. And thank you for all your thoughts on these issues, because I think everything is about inward learning. So if you are open-minded, anything can be a trigger for you to have innovative ideas.
Thank you very much. Agnes, would you like to add something?
Yes, if it's possible, I would like to speak a bit about one of my supported by Aniko's foundations, the Museums and Visitors Foundations. We have with the Hungarian coach Isabella Csordás, a 5-session conversation and workshop series for museum workers. And our topic was in dialogue, actors of the museum world. And it was a really interesting conversation and workshops we could facilitate between the museum co-workers and external partners. Our main aim was to bring closer the external experts, the professionals from other parts, for example, from companies to the museum field, and it's really interesting to listen to your experiences, because it totally reflects our workshops and our experiences with these co-workers. We had five sessions from these workshops, and altogether with 70 participants, and it was really nice to see that museum workers are so excited to speak with people, with professionals from other fields. For example, we had guests from a head of a touristic company, Imagine, who organizing city walks in Hungary, or an external museum game developer, and other experts. But we had experts from the museum fields too, for example, museum directors. And what the keywords of our workshop was that people on this field need a lot of would like to have opportunities for communication, to meet each other, and they would like to learn a lot from each other. And the key topics was at our conversation, the human resources, the organizational development processes, which is really important for the museums for themselves, and how it is possible to learn from the external stakeholders the good practices, the best practices from these fields. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And those discussions are also recorded, so they are on YouTube. We will send you the links to those as well. And thank you very much again for coming and sharing your thoughts. I think it was a very good discussion, very fruitful. I also received lots of ideas for our future work. So thank you for inspiring us and each other. And let's continue sometime. I hope we can organize more of these kind of discussions. So let's keep in touch and let's continue. Thank you very much.